And without further ado, we're gonna get straight into the video. This is a disturbing Rugrats theory that will completely ruin your mind. Let's see what it's about.
Ready for another nostalgia trip back to the past? Hop in, because in today's video, we are traveling back to the Rugrats era. Except this isn't going to be about how awesome of a TV show Rugrats was. No, today we are going through the disturbing Angelica theory.
I run away from home and he's happy. Oh no!
Some of you may
We already gotta...
have heard of this theory before, but we guarantee that you haven't heard all parts of it. And don't say we didn't warn you. This isn't for the faint of heart. Remember Rugrats, the show about talking babies? It was one of the first shows on Nickelodeon when it came on air in 1991. It turned out a smash hit, as the audience couldn't get enough of Tommy leading Chucky, Phil, Lil, and Kimmy into living out their imaginations and going on adventures that stressed the life out of the adults in the show. The first iteration of Rugrats was on air for 13 years, making it the longest running show on Nickelodeon at the time. Its showcase of talking babies won the show lots of fans. This is one reason it picked up lots of industry awards, numbering more than 20. It has also become a big franchise, spawning 2 spin-off series, TV specials and crossovers, 3 movies, books, and of course, lots of merchandise, the dream of every studio executive. With the amount of affectionate appeal for Rugrats out there, it's easy to see why Nickelodeon did a reboot of the show in 2021. For now, it's only on Paramount Plus, a streaming service from the studio giants. It's already confirmed for another season, so our adorable babies will continue with their adventures for at least another year. As usual with shows like these, there are lots of fan theories propounded about the characters. One of the most well-known theories involves Angelica Pickles, Tommy's 3-year-old elder cousin. It seeks to provide the reason why Angelica mistreats the babies and is the way she is. You know, selfish, manipulative, thinking it's all about her. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. We all know someone like Angelica. The theory is quite disturbing, though. It claims Tommy and the other babies didn't exist, as they were figments of Angelica's imagination. And to make matters worse, they're all dead, too. Yup, dead babies. The theory begins with the death of Angelica's real mother from a heroin overdose. Her drug addiction affected Angelica, making her a crack.
So, what they're trying to say is, Angelica's the only alive child, and the rest of the children never existed. They did exist, they died.
This looks like Santa's not.
Baby, which would definitely explain her eccentricities and craziness. She got neglected by her father, Drew, and her stepmom, Charlotte, who's all about business, making money, and sponging off Drew's money. So Angelica created the babies to keep her company. Yeah, crazy, right? Her doll, Cynthia, with jacked up hair and a tattered orange dress, is said to be a representation of her biological mother during her hospital stay before her death. Did we mention that this theory is disturbing? So now we have a poor kid who grew up with neglect and symptoms of drug dependence. How could things get any worse? Well, as mentioned, Angelica created the imaginary babies based on real babies who died or were taken away in different circumstances. Tommy was stillborn. This made Stu, his father, go into overdrive making toys and kitty stuff, trying to compensate for his son. Not sure if you remember that one popular scene, which is now a meme actually, where Dee Dee comes into the kitchen at 4 a.m. asking Stu what he's doing, to which he replies, making chocolate pudding. And she's like, it's 4 o'clock in the morning. Why on earth are you making chocolate pudding? And he replies,
because I've lost control of my life.
We've all been there, let's admit it. But pairing it with this theory gives it an uncomfortable explanation as to the motive behind his 4 a.m. chocolate pudding adventures. Is it a middle-aged man generally unhappy with his life? Or a man grappling with the loss of his stillborn son? You tell me. Chucky is said to have died in a car accident with his mother, causing his father, Chaz, to fall into depression and become a nervous wreck after the incident. To snap out of his depression and get better, he visited Paris, obeying that popular maxim, to see Paris and die. Trying to take advantage of the city's reputation as one of the most romantic places on earth, he tried to ignite a relationship with a lady, Coco, but she turned out to be a gold digger, so it didn't work. Afterwards, Chaz met a Japanese woman, Kira, while still in Paris. She was a sex worker and a drug addict who had a daughter, Kimmy. Kimmy was one of the babies who came much later in the show. The theory further states that Kimmy was taken away by the French authorities after Kira's drug addiction came to light. But things turned out all right, as Kira came to America with Chaz, leaving Kimmy behind. She got a green card, making her an American citizen. She and Chaz lived happily ever after, even though she never overcame her addiction.
These conspiracies are crazy. Like, who would have thought of something like this? I don't even know.
Super romantic, right? And at least Kimmy didn't die.
It
She
clicks
just
if
stayed
you
in
allow
France.
it.
So we have one good thing
If you
happening
make it
in
make
this
sense,
theory.
then it'll make
Angelica
sense.
must have heard stories of
Yes.
Kimmy from Kira. And hey, presto, Kimmy came into being from Angelica's imagination. But let's talk about the twins now. What happened to them? Well, the DeVilles, the Pickles' neighbors, apparently had an abortion. And since Angelica didn't know the baby's sex, as it had never been too early to check, she imagined them as twins, a boy and a girl. Pretty clever, if you ask me. Ironically, Dill is the only one thought to be real among the babies. Why? Angelica doesn't get any reaction from him, as he never talks. Unlike the others, this leads her to dislike Dill, and take it out on him by hitting him, since she couldn't differentiate him from her creations. Yup. Pretty messed up. Remember Susie Carmichael, Angelica's neighbor, friend, and rival, who's always defending the babies from Angelica's wrath? It's said that Susie knew about Angelica's fantasy, played along to make her feel good. Plus, they're kids. It's common to make up stories in your head and play them out in real time. And it kinda explains how Susie was a friend and rival at the same time. She was the only one who played along with Angelica's imagination, but she took the wrong side in the imaginational creation. She sided with the babies, not Angelica, making Angelica not like her at some points. But alas, Susie was the only one who went along with this made-up story, so Angelica had to like her to some degree, since she had slim pickings when it came to friends. And the theory still extends to one of the spin-off series, Rugrats All Grown Up. Remember how Angelica was always hitting Dill, who never talks? Looks like it caused Dill to have a brain hemorrhage, which affected his mental development. This made him act weird and wear hats. It also turned him into a social outcast that almost everybody avoided him, according to the theory. Angelica was also diagnosed with bipolar schizophrenia. This could be found in her constant abuse of narcotics as a teenager. One reason for this could be that she didn't want to be without her imaginary creations, the babies who had become teenagers. Angelica considered them her only companions in what she felt was a judgmental world. It was also her own way of dealing with her guilt about how Dill turned out. Her drug addiction, schizophrenia, and personality made people shun her, making her obsess more on the imaginary babies. Her last days were said to have been spent at the back of the school cafeteria playing with her imaginary friends before her passing from a drug overdose when Rugrats All Grown Up was canceled. Susie is said to have arranged her funeral.
What
It
the
motivated
heck?
her into becoming a psychologist, and Susie and Dill lived happily ever after. And Kimmy too, except she was in France, hopefully with a healthy family at this point. The
This
end.
conspiracy theory is
Exactly.
crazy.
It's just me and my mommy, and we live in Paris.
Yep, that's it. That's the theory. If you think it's crazy, you're not alone. In fact, many people really believe this theory, and you've got to admit, at first glance, it looks solid, logical, and well thought out. But what do the creators say about it? The creators, Arlene Klasky, Paul Germain, and Gabar Chupo, must have seen the influence the Angelica theory was having on our collective memories. So thankfully, they stepped in to debunk it. Basically, and quite simply, they stated in an interview that many people believe in the Angelica theory, but it is not true. Straight to the point, if you ask me. If you're like us and extremely invested in this theory, you've probably made it this far in the video. Congrats, you want to know more like us. In fact, to add on to what was already confirmed by creators, we took it upon ourselves to look at all of the evidence against the theory itself. And surprisingly,
Imagine being able to build an app with your
We got our
name on
first
it
ad, guys.
just by thinking
Let me
about
get out
it.
of it.
Meet Base 44. A com-
That advertisement.
there's a solid handful. First of all, the Angelica theory has only seen the TV movies and later episodes involving Dill, Susie, and Kimmy. But there is an early episode, Meet the Carmichaels, that debunks the Angelica theory pretty well. The episode is where viewers are introduced to the Carmichaels who have just moved into the neighborhood. But something interesting happens in this episode. Susie Carmichael introduces herself to the babies without Angelica being present.
Hey! Hey, my name's Susie. What's yours? Tommy.
So basically, if the babies were imaginary, how and why on earth would Susie introduce herself to them? Exactly, she wouldn't.
Come
So
on,
there goes
gang.
the piece of evidence regarding the idea that Susie was playing along with Angelica's imagination. And wait, there's more. Check out the dates the babies were supposed to have died. They're always changing, from being in the early 1990s to being in the 1980s. Hence, why didn't we include them in the beginning of this video? There were simply too many discrepancies. The Angelica theory also states that Angelica died at 13 or 15 years of age, around the time the spin-off series, Rugrats All Grown Up, was canceled in 2008. According to the Wikipedia entry on Angelica, she was born in 1991, which would make her 27 at the time of the cancellation in 2008. Even if we use the year of Rugrats All Grown Up, premiering in 2003, that would make her 22 years of age. That's another nail on the Angelica theory. And what about the fact that Angelica was not always with the babies? I mean, come on.
I mean, because come on, guys. We grew up on this, for all my people who grew up in the 2000s and beyond that, and even children growing up till now, like, we would hate to see the bad side really be true. So
Yeah.
I like the fact that he's breaking it down and letting us know that, like, okay, it doesn't make that much sense.
Like we know what they doing, and they don't know what we doing.
Right.
on. If you create something in your mind, you always have to be there. It doesn't work any other way. And there were episodes where Angelica wasn't even present. Her not always being with Tommy and his band of babies is yet another piece of evidence that they weren't imaginary, but real. And let's get really specific here. What about Spike, Tommy's dog? Even if humans can fool themselves, animals don't do that. Dogs can't play with imaginary beings unless they are also part of Angelica's imagination, which Spike clearly was not. Like, what about the incessant barking? That's not playing with imaginary friends. It's just barking.
Pull off the dog! There you are. Hey, how about spending some time on the water heater? I'm not paying you to play.
What about the scenes of other children interacting with the babies? There are many instances of this in Rugrats. Look at Josh from the New Kid in Town episode, or Timmy McNulty from the Olympics episode. I don't think all these kids will be into playing along with Angelica's imagination to make her feel better. That doesn't make sense, as some of them couldn't stand Angelica. And how can the adults be caring for imaginary babies, as we're seeing here? And come to think of it, how can a 3-year-old Angelica grasp terms like being stillborn and abortion in order to create imaginations out of them? Doesn't make sense, even if the kid has the highest IQ scores and is a member of Mensa, the so-called club for geniuses. Thanks to a confirmation from creators, as well as our own collection of evidence, we can officially declare the Angelica theory as busted. You're welcome. Now we can all go to sleep soundly knowing Rugrats was just a great show about babies. But tell us, what do you think about the Angelica theory? You think it's got a sound case, or it's just a load of baloney? Be sure to let us know in the comments section below. Thanks for watching, time travelers. Let us know what video you'd like to see next in the comments.
Alright guys, that was it for the creepy conspiracy theory reaction video. It wasn't that much creepy, but it was actually pretty cool. It was fun. I liked how he got into it at first and then he broke it down. Overall, it was great. So, without further ado, make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see y'all next time. Peace.